Welcome, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you here today for our 8th session in the 2022 webinar series, Retail Trends with Sobeys. And I'm Amy Melmock. I'm the Director of Sector Development and Innovation for the Nova Scotia Department of Agriculture, and I'll be your moderator for today. We have a wonderful speaker with us today, Jan Bronco from Sobeys. And before we hand things over to Jan, we have a couple of housekeeping things to go through today and some presentations. So on the housekeeping side, I just want people to know that for our participants today, your audio and video is turned off during the webinar. And if you have a question, please enter it in the question and answer feature or in the chat function, and I will be monitoring those questions throughout the session. Next, we have greetings from the Honorable Greg Moreau, our Nova Scotia's Minister of Agriculture, and he's going to be offering us greetings for today's session. Thank you.
Welcome to today's forum on retail and consumer trends with Sobeys. I'm very pleased Sobeys is with us today to provide their perspective on the choices consumers are making around food purchases. As Minister of Agriculture, I'm confident that Nova Scotia producers and food entrepreneurs will continue to be leaders in product development. And because my department's mandate is focused on ensuring Nova Scotians increase their consumption of local food, I hope this webinar will help contribute to that goal. I'd like to thank our series sponsors, Farm Credit Canada, the Nova Scotia Farm Loan Board, and TELUS Agriculture for their support of today's discussion. As this webinar series draws to a close, I look forward to seeing you all during our in-person Ministers Conference, November 3rd and 4th. You can register now for our 2022 Ministers Conference for Agriculture at the Halifax Trade and Convention Centre by visiting the Perennia website. Thank you for taking the time to participate in today's webinar. I hope you benefit from the insights that are presented today.
Thank you, Minister. And as the Minister mentioned, our sponsors for today are Farm Credit Canada, Nova Scotia Farm Loan Board, and TELUS Agriculture. And we're going to present 3 short videos from our sponsors for today. Thank you.
Food keeps our country going, and so do you. If you grow it, produce it, pack it, or move it, you're a key to our future. And we're behind you every step of the way. We're FCC, the only lender 100% invested in Canadian agriculture and food, serving diverse people, projects, and passions with financing and knowledge. If you're behind Canadian food, we're behind you. FCC. Dream. Grow. Thrive.
My name is Alphonse Vermeulen. My wife and I farm 50 dairy cows on a robot in Urbania, Nova Scotia.
We actually got married in 2014 and bought the farm in 2014. And originally we owned a tie stall in Prince Port, and it was just January of 2020 that we moved to this site in Urbania.
We've been working with the Farm Loan Board since the beginning, when we first bought the farm in Prince Port. The Farm Loan Board was more flexible with the challenges we were facing trying to enter the industry.
They helped us actually to do this site switch. They provided us with a loan that helped us to retrofit the barn that we're standing in right now. That was a tremendous help. It was a big step for us to move from the tie stall to the milking facility that we have here.
So with the loan board, we're character lenders, and we do like to develop relationships with our clients. And what that means is through the years, we get to see how people are progressing and how they're growing. We get to see their weaknesses as well as their strengths. We do look at, we review their financials yearly, and we like to see where we can make that better and make them stronger.
So we're really a complement to the other lending options. You know, we say that we don't compete with banks or other lending agencies. What we really want to do is provide a solution for farmers that is different than what's being offered commercially. really diving down on the business plan, working with them to make sure that they have a partnership with other programs or granting opportunities is really what we're focused on.
They understood a lot of things that even we didn't understand, and it really helped us navigate some tough times when you're trying to get into the industry.
Agriculture fuels the world. But as our food needs evolve, so will our need for information. We're making a commitment to everyone, from seed growers to grocers, to leverage the power of connection and technology, to build trust, to link systems together, and to use resources and information in new ways. We want to build something stronger for everyone, to share the responsibility by cultivating partnerships that drive the industry forward and harvesting ideas as transformative as the first horse-drawn plow. Because we believe in creating better food outcomes.
That's the end of our series videos, series sponsors videos, and we're very pleased to, as I say, have the support of those sponsors. In terms of our last session, it's happening next Wednesday, same time, 12 to 12:45 p.m. today. And I do want to make a note that today's session will run approximately the same length. So one last reminder that we do have the Ministers' Conference for Agriculture coming up in November 3rd and 4th at the Halifax Convention Centre. It'll be an opportunity for all of us to meet live again. And if people would like to go to the Perennia website to register for the live conference, we do have some fantastic early bird incentives for people, including the opportunity to win a premium smartphone that is being sponsored by TELUS Agriculture and TELUS Business Solutions. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Jan Branco. And Jan is the Quality Control and Produce Supplier Development for Sobeys Canada. He's joining us today from Kitchener, Ontario, hot off the heels of the Canadian Produce Marketing Associating meeting. And Jan has actually been with Sobeys since October 2018, as is noted in his bio. And he's, of course, focused on raising the bar for produce and building programs with a large retinue of suppliers and producers. So we're very pleased to have him with us today and to be giving this presentation to us. Thank you, Jan. I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you very much, Amy. Hi, everyone. Thanks for making the time to register and participate in this webinar. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I'm going to apologize in advance for my voice. Like many other people, I'm going through COVID. I'm doing well, but I'm just having a little bit of a challenge with my voice. So bear with me during the presentation. So let me just bring presentation up here. So I'm assuming you can see my presentation now, Amy?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Very good. So let's get started. And it's not going. Here we go. So at Sobeys, really we're family nurturing families, and in in past years, many success have been built and developed, through our partnerships with suppliers such as you. You have told stories in stores and building connection with our customers and bringing local life through, store events, food fair, local week, store supported local events and samplings and more. And all of this is standing true to our mission and core values, which are, as you can see here on the screen, is customer driven, people powered, community engaged, and result oriented. So why is local important to Sobeys? Well, it's important to Canadian, not only to obviously to Nova Scotian, but across Canada. And surveys are telling us that 1 in 6 Canadians are buying local product and shopping at local store more often, and are doing it for the first time. And also, the average basket of local shopper is two and a half higher than non-local shoppers. So there's obviously a good reason there to pay attention to local, but there are equally more important other things like such as innovation and differentiation. So for us, it's important to be at the forefront of what is the next product? How do we differentiate ourselves on the shelf? How do we continue to refine and improve the local offering on our shelves in every department? And it's who we are, right? We're Canada's family grocery store, and we've been supporting local entrepreneurship for 115 years and counting. I'm always, that no pun intended, but this 150 years never gets old to me. Like every time I read this out loud, I'm always impressed. And lastly, but not least, is the number one reason why customer buy local is because of the impact on the local communities or the local economy. And at Sobeys, we're proud to be supporting over 3,000 small and diverse local suppliers across English Canada. And then what's maybe a few words here on what's our vision of success when it comes to local. And these past months, we've done a lot of work internally in terms of the vision and our strategic plan. And the mission statement we came up or we developed for our entire company is that we're trusted to always offer the best local product by advocating for diverse local entrepreneurs. And obviously this vision is based on 3 main pillars. And the first one is obviously local products. So we want to be the destination for the best local product and a feeder for our product innovation pipeline. And the second one, and it's you. So we want you to trust us as being the best platform for growing great Canadian food, beverages, and wellness businesses. And lastly, it's the impact that supporting local has, because really we want to be part of the community. We want to create a positive social, economic, and environmental impact through our commitment to growing local. Now, you may have noticed I'm not that good of a speaker, so I thought I would show you a video that really demonstrates our passion for local, for hyper local. And maybe one note: this video was made a year or 2 ago, so don't worry, my role hasn't changed since the presentation that started, but I had a previous role when we shot that video. So enjoy.
We started in 1907. My great-grandparents started the business in a small town of Stellarton, Nova Scotia. They got themselves a horse, a cart, and a bit of a dream, and started delivering meat to the local neighborhood. And it was really driven, obviously, by the local suppliers around Pictou County, Nova Scotia. One small town with one retailer and a few local suppliers was the very beginning of how we began. I personally love local, like a lot of Canadians. I love that it stands for community, sustainability, food, freshness, and really celebrating Canadian roots.
Sobeys is over 110 years old, and from day one, that's what Sobeys was all about, was local.
What we've been able to do with the local supplier program is really nationalize it, which has been great because it gives local suppliers an opportunity to access us and get on our shelves and then be promoted and be nurtured by our field merchandising team. They're almost hunting and harvesting for the very best, whether it be farmers markets or trade shows or just word of mouth of a great product that they've heard about.
When I visit local growers and they show me around their latest expansion and their investment, how many people that they are employing, it really makes me proud because they grew through our relationship.
We're a Canadian grocer, so we're so proud to support Canadian suppliers and strengthen those Canadian communities. And there's a lot of innovation happening here in this country.
Nuts for Cheese is very unique.
It's a nut-based cheese. Once our local development manager tasted the product and all the varieties, she fell in love and she knew our customers would as well. So she started in her hometown in our Sobeys London store. And from there, she's been able to grow right across Canada. So it really is a success story of going from one store to almost 1,000 stores.
I think our partnership with Sobeys has been incredible because they really, from the very beginning, have shown us that they focus on local products and really care about local suppliers.
Nuts for Cheese totally aligns with Sobeys in a family, nurturing families. They're very connected in their community, and as their product grows, they've shown a strong ability to stay connected with where they originated from.
Nuts for Cheese definitely has a family culture. I mean, we all work very closely together. We're a small company, and so a lot of people are doing a lot of different roles, and myself, I wear a ton of hats around here. And I do see that kind of family environment reflected in the Sobeys culture as well. It's really, really great to have somebody who is, in your corner, someone you feel like you can ask questions to. And I think that that's what that local program actually provides.
For the past 2 years, we've run local supplier roadshows across Canada.
So the local supplier roadshow is just a really good avenue to get introduced to Sobeys. And once you meet our local development managers, you know right away that you've found something good because these are folks who are completely dedicated to nurturing and growing local suppliers.
It's fantastic to watch our team celebrate the success with our suppliers and our stores and our customers.
Oftentimes we don't appreciate enough what the local suppliers are doing and all the work that they're putting every day on their farm to bring us great quality food. And it's truly a privilege to be able to showcase our product on our shelves.
Without our partnership with Sobeys, we wouldn't be where we are today, going from the local program and then growing into a national brand.
All right. So wanted to go over some so what we're seeing as far as trends and customer motivation. So there's a couple of things here at play, and obviously the first one I think we're all facing it is inflation. It's been on every news channel and every conversation, obviously you're having with your suppliers or your customers. So, and ultimately it impacts the customer, right? As a piece of data here, if you're looking at the CPI number, we don't have March yet, but in February in Nova Scotia, the inflation was north of 7%. So it puts an incredible amount of pressure on households, as you can imagine. And obviously it has an impact on the customer behavior. So, and some of them are there outlined, the main one actually are there, right? So the customers are seeking for additional promos, discount, Obviously, when they have no choice, they cut back on other non-essential spending. They're switching to lower price brands or diverting to we're seeing more like private label products. And then obviously we're also seeing a switch to lower price retailer discounters, and they tend to purchase items in bulk or in bigger quantities. One thing I would add too is that and we've probably experienced this ourselves at the onset of the pandemic, is really people were limiting the number of stores they were going to, building bigger or stocking up, right? Trying to get to the store as less as possible. But what we've been noticing in the last several months this year is that consumers are reverting back to their old shopping habit. Obviously, food inflation has an impact on how they purchase and where they shop. So it is something that we obviously, as a retailer, keep a very close eye on. And then the second trend is local. I mean, as the pandemic hit, it is something that surfaced, and I think consumers realize the importance of supporting the local economy, which is the first criteria here, and as well as supporting the people and the farmer who produce our food. And interestingly, it's those are the highest criterias, and then comes behind fresher, higher quality food, and buy and support Canadian made, and the environment is coming last there on the chart. And then on the right hand side is really the impact. Is majority of a customer agree that it's more important now that we're buying local, right? And so 65%. So there's truly a shift or a trend, a deep trend among consumers that local is increasingly more important, which is, let's be honest, a good news for all of us here today. And then growing with us leads me to talk about a little bit of what makes a relationship successful. And the first one really I want to drive home is differentiation. And people often ask me, what should I grow? What should I produce? Especially because I'm in produce. What do you need? And well, the answer, it depends. It depends on the region. It depends on the season. Like there's so many factors that it's involved there, and it's a question that needs to be discussed, on a one-on-one, and we develop over time. But if I had like an advice here or two, I'm going to say two. Is the first one is really looking at what your neighbors are growing, what you're currently growing, and ask yourself, what can I be doing differently? And the second one is really around, and I tell this to people all the time, if you're wondering what the opportunities are, is say, just walk a produce department or walk our store and look at our current offering on the shelves, and then see if there's, for a particular item or a commodity, there's no local offering. There's an opportunity for you to grow it, understanding that, excuse me, that you're not gonna be growing navel oranges tomorrow in Nova Scotia, but there's certainly things that can be done. It's all about identifying those opportunities and working together on developing it. And then the second piece I want to talk about is quality and food safety. I will not say enough that this is very important to our customer, right? They are more and more informed. They want to be aware how their food is grown and where it's coming from. So obviously, food safety is something that we need to do our due diligence on, and depending on what the commodity that you grow, there's a risk level. And associated with that risk level, there's going to be some requirements attached to it. And then quality, it's about ensuring consistency on the shelf and offering what the customers are looking for. And we know that the customers are more and more demanding, and they're buying with their eyes. So it's important that what we put on the shelf meets their expectation. And then the importance of planning and communication. Sobeys is a big machine. There's lots of moving pieces. So it is important that we have good, a good channel of communication. It is crucial that we plan seasons and programs ahead of time. So that way, when the rubber hits the road, we have a good plan, we execute, and we are both successful. And as we sit down for a postmortem of the program or the season, we are both happy and successful. And then sustainability. This, as you probably know, this took a little bit of a step back, at the onset of the pandemic, with people, trying to buy safe product, and so, and then just stocking up product and finding product. But as things are opening up and we're going back more to a normal course, customers are reverting back to those expectations. And I think, frankly, we can all agree that's the right thing to do. However, we just need to work all together and in finding the right path to do it, where everybody wins, especially the environment and the customers. And then last but not least, this is very important. We want you to tell your story, what's unique about your product, right? And so we can in turn tell it to our customers, whether it's in our flyers, through digital channels, or so it's ever critical. As I was saying a little bit earlier, customers want to know where their food is coming from. There's obviously or clearly, I should say, an emotional connection, when they know who's growing their product, where it's coming from. So I think we have a vested interest in telling your story. And then I wanted to move on to explaining a little bit of the different roles quickly, because as you know, or you may not know, there's been major changes at Sobeys, in the past 2 years. So, and we understand that it could be a little bit confusing for suppliers or potential suppliers. So really, I wanted to take a minute here just to run through this very quickly, who the different roles are, who these people are and what they do. So the first one, starting on the right hand side, the supplier development, who is Travis McLeod, who's on the call with me today. So he's what we call them SDL for produce. And we also have on our Sobeys team a lady called, and I'm sure you know her a lot. Many of you know her already, Linda Stewart, who's a local development manager. So so Linda used to oversee produce as well, but when we made the change, we deployed boots on the ground specifically for produce. So depending on what you do, if you're a produce grower or supplier, then you want to talk to Travis. And if you're any other department, then obviously you want to be speaking with Linda. She'll be very happy to help you. So essentially, they're Travis role. So both roles are very similar. The difference I would say is the fact that Linda oversees has a little larger scope, in the sense that she may list up articles and following up closely on that business, where in produce it's a shared accountability throughout different person, which I'm getting into now. So really, as an SDL, their role is really boots on the ground, being an ambassador for Sobeys, looking at crops, visiting farms, helping, supporting suppliers when it comes to our spec, when it comes to innovation, quality, food safety. So really, this is a resource that you can pick up the phone and call. It is local. Travis is based in Nova Scotia. So very important resource for our supplier on the ground. And the same can be said for Linda, for the rest of you who may be supplying or producing other items than in the produce department. And then the buyer, really, if you're delivering DSD, then you will not have much interaction with that person. But if you're delivering to the RSC in the bird, then it's the person that will be cutting the POs, and you'll be interacting on the day-to-day on when it comes to transaction. And then so the category merchant there is the person that's really responsible for customer facing in the store. Like, what's our strategy, what's our in terms of assortment, in terms of retails and promotions. So really the merchant is really focusing on the store. And then last but not least is the sourcing manager, which is another very important role or person for you as supplier, because they're the one you'll be interacting with when it comes to negotiation, when it comes to build programs, talk about volumes, and then also maybe potential opportunity buys. So I hope this clears up a little bit, like the differences and who you need to talk to depending of the situation. But at any point in time, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to Travis or Linda for clarification. And then here's the team. So I wanted to share with you their a picture of them, so you basically know what they look like, and then you have their email addresses there. I didn't mention Christian, but Christian is our supplier development manager. He oversees all of the supplier development lead, and through his past experience, Christian has spent time in the Maritimes and in Nova Scotia. So with the Nova Scotia local team, I think you're in pretty good hand, whether it's on the produce side or the rest of the business, should I say. But then this brings me to conclusion of my presentation. So I want to thank you for the time you took to attend this webinar today. And I believe we are opening up for some Q&A.
Thank you so much, Jan, and a very insightful presentation in terms of the insights into some of the trends that are surfacing in terms of local, also in terms of national trends, etc. And we did have a couple of questions that came up through the chat and the questions. And we'll put you on the hot seat a little bit here. So
all good.
In terms of local, I know for a lot of people and for one of our participants, do you have a definition for how you define that in terms of distance for here in Nova Scotia?
It's a very good question. And so we have essentially a hyper local definition, and you're gonna excuse me because I don't remember exactly, like there's a number of kilometer, like I don't have that offhand, but it's very close. Like we define hyper local suppliers where it's in your community, and you're supplying a handful of stores, right? Like directly, you're not going through the warehouse. And then local generally is defined as provincial, right? So we have those two definition.
So hyper local at the community level, and then at the provincial.
Yeah, the provincial level. Yeah.
Okay. Another question that was raised through the presentation, you refer there to the innovation pipeline in your presentation. Can you talk a little bit more about what that is, Jan, in terms of that innovation pipeline?
Yeah, this is, I guess, a terminology we're using internally is that, and it essentially what that is we're always on the hunt for, what's new, what's upcoming, and obviously we rely on our supplier partners to to have discussion with us on what potential items, right, they could grow or produce, or right. So it's not like there's not an official pipeline internally. It's more around our our mindset of continually be on the hunt, right, or what's new, right, and what's next. And obviously I think from excuse me, in terms of outside of produce, I think that the local development manager have done a great job on this, holding events and trying to, I'm going to use like the word like harvest, potential items and ideas, right? So, which is I think, on produce maybe a weeny bit more difficult, right? Because produce is produce, it takes time, right, to bring about new varieties and new productions, but maybe on the grocery side there's other opportunity that may be bigger than produce.
So always the notion of looking for that innovation.
Looking for it, yes.
To bring a new producer to the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, you talked about the supplier development lead in Travis and the work that is going on, and the steps that a producer can expect to take in that process. And I'm going to assume that when someone meets with their first contact at Sobeys, you're providing them with a bit of a roadmap for who they should. Are you reviewing this with them when you have that first contact? If it looks like it's going to be a successful activity, providing them with a roadmap along the way as well.
Well, so one of the main thing with I should say one of the main the biggest advantage that we have with the SDL is that it's exactly what you're saying, is coaching, is helping along the way, and is on, okay, what are the next step, what do you need, like, whether it's product specification or food safety requirements, or how to approach a sourcing manager, like how do we position things, how to approach things, how we plan things, how we do things at Sobeys. So to give the suppliers like a better understanding on how we think and how we go about doing things, right? And when it's existing partners, it's I think it's in my years of being out in the field, it's critical, because again, we're a big machine. And so people may look at it may be overwhelming. So it's good to have someone on the ground visiting your farm and then having good conversation and good guidance on how to approach us and conduct business with us.
And Jan, in that process, is there let's say that you pass all the hurdles for food safety and sourcing and supply and whatnot. Is there any kind of typical timeline that a producer can anticipate in terms of getting a product from conversation to market, or is it? I imagine it varies greatly.
It does vary. Speaking for produce, it depends when your season is, right? Are we at the end of the season? Are we at the beginning of the season? Are we in the off season preparing, right? And typically because we wouldn't want you to go through all the hurdle if there's no opportunity, number one. But if you're okay, your product checks all the boxes, and then yes, I got my food safety and all of that, then the listing process starts. And I'll be honest, it can be lengthy. So it's not something that happens overnight. It could take a few months. So if you're again, it varies. It could be quicker than that. It could, in some cases, it went longer depending on, all the paperwork that needs to be completed. So it's a little bit of a heavy task to start doing business with us. But once you're past that, then we're good. And then we have the ability to be nimble. But it's just that please don't expect, like, when we start the listing process, that the next week you're going to have POs, right? Like, that's just setting up expectation here, right? But once this hump is jumped over, then we're good, right? So I hope I'm answering your question.
Yes, you are. Thank you. I have a couple more questions that have come in through the question line here. One is from Phil Ketty, and he wants to know, how does the R Compliments packaging help tell the story of the producer?
That's a good question. So in produce, particularly, what we're doing, not on every complement product, but on where there's enough space, we have a little story there, that we can put, about the grower, right, and our relationships and in relation to this grower, and along with the little picture, right? So I think we found that this is a good way to connect, customers to where their food is, who's growing their food, right, or their product. But again, like, if you're taking like a bag of onion, then it's a little bit more difficult, because obviously the way it's packaged, there's not necessarily room to put the story.
So are there other ways in store that you're looking at in terms of telling the story of local producers?
Yeah, it could be via POS material. It could be via digital means, or in our flyer, right? Right, because you will see examples throughout maybe the summer or the fall, where we highlight the grower, and that packs under complement, but we still showcase them with their product in our flyer under the complement label.
Okay. We have a question from Kathy Monroe, who's asked how important it is for consumers to have ready-to-eat produce products. What are the trends you're seeing there?
It's a very good question, and it's very important. Like, let's just establish that, because people are looking for convenience, and I think we'd be missing the boat if we weren't offering convenience to the customers, and we see it, within our produce department. For anyone who has ever walked a Sobeys store, we have a large display in the 5 deck where we have in-store made, fruit salads or salads, and a number of offering, that are offering convenience, and it's been very popular. The challenge we're having is, like everybody, involved in retail or in production, it's about labor. Right. So obviously it's a little bit of a challenge on our end in terms of labor at store level. Obviously, lots of labor goes into that program, as you can imagine, because it's all made in store, right? It's true. So what's important is that, like, if someone has a solution ready to consume, ready to eat, solution, then we want to hear about it, right? To help us with that challenge.
Well, Well, thank you, Jan. We have a number of other questions from a producer that we will pass along to you and to Travis because we are coming up to our time today for 12:45. And so I want to thank you very much for giving such great insights into your process. I'm sure that people have many more questions for you.
I'm sure.
I would encourage them to contact you directly.
Absolutely.
Or Travis as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's all right. And there is a recording of today's session that is going to be available to people. If people want to review it again, it should be up on the Perennia site a couple of weeks from now. And so I'll encourage people to look to that particular video. It's I'm just going to close by saying, it's a fascinating time and a challenging time for producers. I noticed that some of the statistics that you presented paint a very contradictory picture in some ways, where we have 65% of Canadians saying that they think that local food is important, and almost an equal number seeking discounts for that food.
Yeah.
Our producers, of course, are in a situation where they're faced with very high input costs for their food here in Nova Scotia and across Canada, and it's a very challenging time for them. And so I know that maybe we could just close with the short response on this. So given that it costs a lot of money for our producers to put their food on the shelves, what is the number one thing that you would say to a producer in order to get the value of their product supported through Sobeys?
So I think the team is acutely aware of the challenges, and we're experiencing those challenges like anyone else, right? Whether it's transport and ocean freight and whatnot, like all the things we need to buy for our stores. So I think internally we understand that it's a great challenge for everyone. So my advice is really it's about communicating and having those open and honest conversation with your sourcing manager on this. And obviously every time I meet with suppliers, we were at the CPMA last week in Montreal, and everybody's talking about this, right? So it's not something that like it's science fiction. It's happening. We're all in this together, and we all need to work together, through this. Like that's what I would say. There's no, obviously there's always a, yes, we don't like cost increase. Like that's a fact. We don't like that. But however, like let's have the conversation, right? Right.
Thank you, Jan,
You're welcome.
A great, an honest answer there.
Well.
So folks, I'm going to be wrapping up the webinar now. And again, I just want to thank everyone for participating today as participants and sitting in on our webinar. We really appreciate people coming online, and we particularly appreciate Jan taking time out, particularly when he's not feeling well, to be part of our webinar today. Thank you, everyone, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Bye.